So the current report is we offered Dalton Risner league minimum when he came to Cincinnati a week ago. And across the board, the front office is getting a lot of hate for this, which they really should. I mean, listen, here's how I understand it, and based on what I've seen, they don't value Dalton Risner as high as us fans do. They look at Lucas Patrick and they don't see a guy who can't play football. They don't look at Cody Ford and see, I don't know if I want Cody Ford as my starter. I would love to have him as a backup. But they don't look at it like that. The reason why they brought in Dalton Risner, or even attempted to get him, was because Lucas Patrick got hurt and they didn't know the severity of the injury. That's the only reason they're bringing in Dalton Risner, is because Lucas Patrick got hurt. So they're looking at him as a potential, okay, this is, a stopgap replacement and not we're going out to get a starter type of guy. They would also have probably picked him up earlier in the offseason if they thought he would have been a starter type of guy. So that's kind of their mindset going into this. So it's frustrating. But again, the front office is not going to look at it like fans are. They're going to look at it as, okay, we're getting a guy who potentially could be, a starter, potentially could be the backup for us. Again, that's how they're looking at it as fans. We're like, what are you talking about? He's a starter 100%. Like, if you have him on your roster and he's your backup, yeah, there's something mentally wrong with you, right? But again, that's not how the front office looks at it. So they're looking at it as this is a guy who would come in late, have to compete for the right guard position. Would he get it? Who knows? They're going to give him league minimum. And, charioting that off the fact that also, of course, he, is visiting his other two places, which is the Seahawks and the Steelers. I'm sure he's thinking also like, hey, am I going to get offered league minimum there? Now, he hasn't visited those places yet, but he's planning to. And if the Bengals would have offered him more, would he have, in theory, accepted it? Or would he still have doubled down and said, I want to go visit other places? I think in a situation like this, you have the money to do it. You do it. You get it done. You sign him for more money. You don't just offer league minimum. Even if you think to yourself, okay, he's a backup, right? He's not a starter. He's a backup. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, that is their mindset in this situation. Like I just said, it doesn't matter. If there's a chance, even a split chance, that someone you can bring in can help your quarterback, stop your quarterback from getting injured, prevent your quarterback from having any setbacks or problems, and potentially, even potentially, win you one more game, you sign him, you bring him in, and he is now part of your team. Even if it's like, oh, well, this was the one he won. No, it doesn't matter. How much is one game worth? I mean, you talk about last year. If we had one more win, we would have been a playoff team. And then once you get into the playoffs, you never know what's going to happen. We got to stop treating these situations like, well, we got to, nickel and dime every single thing. No, we don't. What we need to do is go into these situations and treat every single situation very, very important. Okay, at the end of the day, will Dalton Risner 1,000% be the best option for the Cincinnati Bengals? We don't know. We actually don't. He might go in there and not stay healthy. He might go in there and stay healthy. But we won't know if we don't do it. If we sit here and twiddle our thumbs and refuse to go after a guy and give him league minimum because, well, we don't know if he'll be the guy, then you're never going to know. And you're going to be stuck in the same place. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing on repeat and expecting different results. Sometimes you got to go out there and you got to take the shot. You got to go for the chance. It's it's frustrating. Now, of course, there's also a situation where they also have a principle of, hey, if we bring someone in this late in the year, and their injury replacement, then, it's going to be a different story than if, like, for example, when we picked up Noah Fant. We didn't offer Noah Fant league minimum. We didn't. We picked him up, and we said, hey, this guy's going to be a starter, or potentially a starter, especially with Mike Gesicki injury, and that's why we picked him up, and we didn't offer him league minimum. I don't know why we're doing this with a potential guy that could stop your quarterback from getting hurt. I mean, like, if Joe Burrow gets hurt, people get fired, right? If we go into this season and Joe Burrow gets injured because the right guard sucks and Lucas Patrick's not the guy, people get fired. Zach Taylor gets fired if we have an awful season. Like, there's this mindset of, like, just complacency of, oh, it's okay, we'll figure it out. Sometimes you got to go out there and make the move. And I don't feel like the front office wants to make that move. So he's going to check out Seattle and Pittsburgh. And they're probably going to offer a more than league minimum. And the sad part is he'll probably be one of those teams he'll probably join. And we'll lose out on a player and we offered him league minimum. It is what it is at the end of the day. But it's like, if you want to take this serious, if you want to go win a Super Bowl, you got to start, going above and beyond for simple stuff like this. Disappointing, to say the least. Now, hopefully this is incorrect. Again, like I said, this is a rumor. This was rumored that this happened. I think Joe Goodberry posted it the other day about this. But it's just, if it's true, it's disappointing. If it's not true, okay. But it's just like, this is a situation where you can't keep dilly-dallying. You can't keep putting your thumb up your butt here. You got to figure this situation out and get it done with. And the fact we're still in this situation now is kind of disappointing. But again, there is many times, based on what I understand, that we have passed on Dalton Risner, and we did not want him. So in a way, it doesn't shock me because they weren't very high on the guy. They didn't think the guy was, all that in a bowl of oatmeal, whatever the saying is. I forget what the saying is, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Like, this is not the first time I've heard, like, them not being that high on Dalton Risner. So doesn't shock me, but it shocks me because we really need to protect our quarterback. And I don't know why we're messing around with this. But see you guys in the next one. Peace out.